From rising stars to superstars. Unbelievable victories to challenges yet to come. For the next half hour, we'll relive some of the greatest moments in sports on our own home turf. This is a special presentation of Channel 9 Eyewitness News. Eyewitness to history, the Florida Citrus Bowl.
It launched hundreds of athletes on the national stage. But now Orlando's oldest professional stadium is showing its age. We'll show you how the Florida Citrus Bowl earned its place in history and what it will take to keep it going in the future. Hello, I'm Greg Warmoth at the Florida Citrus Bowl, and I've covered the big games here for the past 25 years. But the legacy of this stadium goes back to the days of Franklin Roosevelt. The story begins in the middle of the Great Depression. Orlando built something that would feed our economy for decades.
These moments come once a lifetime. Enjoy them.
The Florida Citrus Bowl has been entertaining Orlando residents and fans from around the world for 3/4 of a century. It started out as Orlando Stadium in 1936, long before Central Florida became a tourism mecca. The seating capacity then, 8,900.
It's part of the history and culture and family life of Orlando. That is such an important part of our heritage. The Citrus Bowl was there before Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, and it's part of our culture.
In 1947, in what was then called the Tangerine Bowl, the first bowl game was put on by the local Elks Lodge. It was a charity event that provided the starting point for what blossomed into today's Capital One Bowl, an anchor of a week-long college football festival featuring 2 games and dozens of events.
This turned out to be a big thing. It was a little thing that just grew, and it grew into the bowl that everybody loved to come to because of the way that the people were treated who came here.
You know, if you talk to a long-term resident of Orlando, I would bet they have one experience in the Citrus Bowl over the past 30 or 40 years that they could name.
I remember actually riding my bicycle all the way from Alta Vista here to work for like 2 cents of Coke and then ride the bike all the way back home. That's when I got my first taste of the Orlando Tangerine Bowl. So I think the Tangerine Bowl introduced people to football and the very large games we have today.
Orlando Stadium played host to a number of monumental events as well, including a landmark civil rights victory in 1966.
From a historical standpoint, the game between Morgan State University and Westchester State in 1966 was the first time an NCAA-sanctioned bowl game invited a historically black college to play in the game. It gave a true sense of pride to a lot of people in the community.
As Orlando grew, so did the stadium, and those brought in to play sports and music here. A note of trivia, it was the only venue where Van Halen and the Rolling Stones played together live in 1981.
Mayor Langford gave us permission to go ahead and do the big outdoor concerts, the Rock Super Bowls we used to call them. The first one was in '77. We ended up doing 40 of them, from the Rolling Stones to Paul McCartney to The Who.
My fondest memory is probably from a Rolling Stones concert. It was pretty cold, but it was a wonderful concert, a great feel for that whole stadium.
In 1989, a new 18,000-seat Upper Bowl expansion opened the door for even bigger events to take center stage in Central Florida.
A big part of our being able to participate in the World Cup in 1994 was the improvement of our Citrus Bowl. Imagine a sea of orange and green because we had Holland and Ireland among our 5 teams. We had Mexico and Morocco and Belgium, and all of them came in their full regalia, and Orlando greeted them like no other venue really could.
The World Cup was probably the biggest thing, in my opinion, that we had because this was truly international, and that opened the door to a new event.
Because of that success, we got the Olympic soccer in '96, and it just put us on the map. It was the place to be. If we wouldn't have done the expansion here and put in the press box and the concrete upper decks, we wouldn't have had World Cup or Olympic soccer.
While the World Cup earned international notoriety for soccer, football American style is the main driver year in and year out.
Notre Dame has 2 timeouts remaining.
The local bowl signed partnerships with the Big Ten and Southeastern conferences, creating a huge annual attraction for out-of-town fans and TV viewers across the country. It's been dubbed the best bowl trip in America. Another addition came our way in 1997, when the Florida Classic moved from Tampa and quickly developed into the nation's largest game between historically black colleges. In 2001, the city added a second bowl game, now the Champs Sports Bowl. Over the years, each of these games have provided their fair share of memorable moments.
On the reverse. 5 dives for the goal line touchdown.
My memory is Michigan's victory in 2008 over the Florida Gators. It was Lloyd Carr's last game as head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and he definitely went out in style right here in beautiful Orlando, Florida.
We'll ever forget the Iowa Hawkeyes 75-yard touchdown pass to win the Capital One Bowl game on New Year's Day a few years back.
Holloway! Oh my! And they're on the field. The clock has expired.
When these games are on TV, it's like having a 5-hour commercial for Central Florida. It really shows us at our best.
Think of it. You're sitting in Michigan on January 1. It's 19 degrees below zero. You've just had 6 inches of snow and ice, and you're watching a bowl game in Orlando, and you're saying to yourself and to your family members, maybe it's time to revisit Orlando. Maybe it's time to plan a trip.
This stadium even hosted a national college champion. Before the Bowl Championship Series, Georgia Tech won a national football title on this field in 1991. With the weather, the hotels, the attractions, experts said the Florida Citrus Bowl could have been in the BCS mix today, but it was not chosen because of the stadium. City and county leaders approved a plan to refurbish the old place 5 years ago, along with the new arena and performing arts center, but it hit a snag. Coming up, we'll show you what went wrong and where we can go from here.